All right, buddy, welcome back to Ox Talks. It is Sunday. It's May 19th, 2024. Haven't done a video for a few days. Been kind of a hectic schedule, so I wanted to just check in with all of you and say hello on this closeout for the weekend. Hope you all had a productive weekend, spent some quality time with family and friends, and appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for helping to grow the channel. And let's continue to share these videos with everybody that we know. Family, friends, colleagues, coworkers. Continue to wake people up to the extent that we possibly can, okay? Not everybody, unfortunately, wants to be saved or can be saved. So focus on the ones that you believe have an open mind. Maybe try to make some inroads with those that you believe are kind of closed off, but maybe receptive to some new ideas, new concepts about what is truly happening here. I want to start by saying, oh, by the way, please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please like and share. Hit the thumbs up button for me, the bell notification, so you get notification of new videos as I post them. I want to start by saying there's a little situation developing, little, large, however you might describe it, over in Iran. The president of Iran, evidently today, his helicopter crashed. And initially, the media was, well, it was a hard landing. Now we come to find out it actually crashed in a mountainous region under very, very poor weather conditions. And I believe as of right now, there hasn't been any word on the status of him, but they've sent in rescue crews, and it does not look good. So just keeping watch on that. We know that region is very unstable. And so how does that play out if the president of Iran actually is deceased? What will that mean? You already have people out in the streets, I believe, in Iran. And let's keep a watch on this. Everything that happens around the world affects the United States. Everything is so intertwined now and so globally interconnected. So just be aware of it, okay? I want to talk about, I always talk about Sunday nights, we come out and have a little chat. The debt levels, the level of debt, the government debt, and then we'll shift over to the consumer debt. And I want to highlight a post I saw that Mark Cuban made a couple days ago. And of course, one of my stock market pumping buddies sent me the post that Cuban had put up about how everything is fine. And so I want to read that to you and then share with you an article I've been sitting on for a few days from Zero Hedge that is right on point. First, I want to talk about silver. Silver, well, and gold, but silver had a remarkable day on Friday. It closed up over $31 an ounce, and I believe that was the highest level since 2013. So are we finally breaking the chains that bind silver? Again, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not making market predictions. Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. I do believe in physical precious metals. I've been a big proponent of silver and gold, for many, many years now, well over 10 years. So look into it. But I saw a video on YouTube this morning. I was having coffee early on. Saw a video, a guy posted something about going into a local Costco. I don't know what state he was in. I want to say it might have been Florida. And he went into Costco about 2 weeks ago, and he found 10-ounce. These are the 10-ounce bars that are phenomenal bars. I'm drawing a blank now. I think it's the Royal Canadian Mint bars. And if you've ever seen them, they are really clean. Many, many years ago, I bought 4 of them at a coin show from a guy who had them serially, consecutive serial numbers. So I bought 4 of them for the family, and they're wonderful. Anyway, evidently Costco had these things for sale, and he went in. There was a limit of 5. So he bought 5, went back, he bought 5 more, and he was showing them and talking about the idea or the concept of when he checked out, his experience, that they initially charged the tax on the bars, then they realized after he brought it to their attention that there was a threshold for tax in that state for precious metals, and they backed out the tax. But the point of the story is, I thought, well, this afternoon I did my workout, had some stuff I had to get done, helped my mom, Sunday afternoon, took her to the store. I thought, well, I'm going to run by a couple of my local Costco's and just see if they have any of those bars in. I don't like to go into Costco. It's not my thing. I try to avoid crowds and avoid a lot of people whenever possible. But I thought, well, I've got some time. I will head over to two of the local Costco's and see what's going on. Went into the first one, nothing. Second one, closer to my house, there was nothing in stock, and a couple of the guys were there that worked at Costco. And I heard them discussing the housing market. And one of the guys said, this has to crash. It's just too crazy right now. As soon as I heard his comment, I overheard that. I asked him, excuse me, I want to ask you about these silver bars. I read or heard somewhere you had some in. And what he told me is about 2.5 weeks ago, they did get in those Royal Canadian Mint 10-ounce bars. He said they had quite a stock. And within less than 24 hours, he says they were sold out. People came in, took their 5 max bars, a lot of them, and they were cleaned out in less than 24 hours. My thinking was, well, look, silver bars here in my local area, maybe they're still sitting around. There wouldn't be much focus on that. And I was totally wrong. He said he's only seen silver bars come through 2 times. That was the second time, and they were wiped out. So if that's any indication, you're hearing a lot of anecdotal stuff online right now about everyone selling silver. Maybe they are after the huge run-up end of last week. I wouldn't be surprised. People always sell into this kind of stuff, and they regret it down the road when it goes back to 50 or 60 or 80 or 100 or whatever. So I wanted to share that with you. Didn't get any silver bars today, unfortunately, but I did get a story from a guy who I think was a manager of some sort there at the store. Let's talk about an article I saw on CNBC, came out today. Just a very, very short article. It says, soaring debt and deficits causing worry about threats to the economy and markets. And it says, the federal IOU is now at $34.5 trillion, or about 11 trillion higher than it stood in March of 2020. So that's 3 years and 2 months. And it's up 11 trillion to 34.5 trillion. Do the math on that. That's almost a 30 some odd percent increase in 3 years. It says, chatter has spilled into government and finance heavyweights and has one prominent Wall Street firm wondering if costs associated with the debt pose a risk to the stock market rally. Of course, all they care about is whether it poses a risk to the stock market rally. It poses a risk, I think, to the little existence of humankind. A debt is going to destroy everything and everybody. It says the CBO estimates that debt held by the public compared to GDP will rise to an amount greater than at any point in the nation's history. Federal Chair Jerome Powell said recently that, quote, this is something that elected people need to get their arms around sooner than later. Government debt has swelled nearly 50% since the early days of the pandemic, is generating elevated levels of worry both on Wall Street and Washington. And here's the point I wanted to share with you. The federal IOU is now, we said, $34.5 trillion, but here's the punchline. As a portion of the total U.S. economy, it is now more than 120%. Think about that. The federal debt is more than 120% of U.S. GDP. So how does this end well? Please comment below. What do you think? Give me your thoughts on this. That is the federal debt. Now let me shift over to the consumer debt. We know our consumers are struggling. Certain people are struggling more than others. If you're one of those, just stay the course. Don't lose faith. Keep putting the effort in. Do the best you can every single day. But there was a post by the infamous Mark Cuban on Wolf Street the other day. This was on the 14th, May 14th. And again, I pulled it up this afternoon to share with you, but friend of mine had sent it to me kind of like, come on. Here, it's the whole thing when, all your detractors. How many of you are trying to walk the walk, trying to pay off debt, trying to make conscientious financial and fiscal decisions, and those in your life around you, you call friends, just want to, just kind of belittle you, insult you, minimalize you, mock you. Trust me, it happens at every single level. And so this a friend of mine sent me this the other day, like kind of like, come on, this is the reality. And my response to him was, well, Cuban's kind of a Main Street shill, so to speak. But here's what he says. Cuban, consumer bankruptcies dash historic lows. Consumers facing third-party collections dash record lows. Credit card balances down 1.2% despite population growth. Household debt as percent of income, historic, non-COVID lows. Used car pricing down 59%. He says it's not political, it's data. And then one of the first comments to his post was, with all of this positive data, why do Americans feel more pessimistic than ever about their economic future? ? Sorry, I bumped the camera. And he responds, Cuban responds, a growing number are positive about their own financial future, but have greater concerns about the country's financial future. I would not disagree with the second part of Cuban's statement there, that obviously when you look at the data I just shared with you about the ballooning government debt as a percentage of GDP, it's concerning. But to say that a growing number are positive about their own financial future. Comment below. Are you positive about your financial future? Are you positive about your prospects for work, for your career? Are you positive about the prospects for inflation in this country? What are you positive about? I'm not trying to be out here and peddle doom and gloom. I'm just sharing some thoughts. And when you hear a guy like Cuban come out, and yes, he's a billionaire. I met him many, many years ago. I might have showed this on a video, but actually when I had my bachelor party in Las Vegas, well, okay, now it's over 20 years ago, he was having his bachelor party the same weekend. And he and I and a bunch of our buddies actually got together and hung out, had some drinks, and he had just sold, I think, one of his companies for $2.2 billion. And he was touting that with us as he was buying us rounds of drinks. So met the guy one time. He was partying, and obviously his defense mechanisms were down. But anyway, over the years, I hear what he has to say. I get it. I don't agree with much of it, but he's coming from a different perspective. But is he on Main Street? Is he on the ground with everybody that's working every day to put food on the table and to pay the bills and to pay their car insurance and their home insurance and their medical insurance, and to have to suffer all these drastic increases? Guys at that level, they don't feel the pain as much, obviously. So take that with a grain of salt. But I want to share with you, on the heels of, I think the same day, actually it was the same day that he posted that, there was an article on Zero Hedge. And I printed the article out to share with all of you that day. I got super busy last week, could not share this. But I think it's very apropos, because on the same day this article came out on Zero Hedge, it says it's entitled, Record Household Debt, Jump in Delinquencies Signal Worsening Financial Distress, the Fed Warns. And now we're talking about consumer debt, private debt, not public debt. And this is a very, very long article. I didn't want to go too long today, but it is Sunday evening. I'm doing a video for a while, so I might rant on for a bit because I want to read a bunch of this to you, because it's totally at odds with what Mr. Cuban's saying, and it's totally at odds with what we're all hearing from everybody around us about how everything is failing. People are hurting. The economy is not doing well. I hear it all the time from clients of mine that are business owners, that are real estate developers, that are contractors, doctors, people from all different areas of the spectrum. This article says, while the market remains focused on, and this was the CPI was coming out the next day, on tomorrow's CPI and to a lesser extent the April retail sales, which will both be released at 8:30 on May 15th. Okay, this came out the day before. We should flag another important report that doesn't typically get a lot of attention. No kidding. The New York Fed's household debt and credit report for Q1 2024 just published. I think we addressed it briefly on a show last week, but this article really goes into a lot of statistics about different segments of the debt levels in this country. I hope you all will stick around for a few more minutes and let me lay this out because it is not good. It says the latest data on credit card debt and delinquencies has recently been the most important part of the report. While we already know that in the latest monthly consumer credit report published by the Fed last week and covering the month of March, total consumer debt hit a record high despite a sharp slowdown in credit card growth. Okay, Cuban mentioned that. But of course, he's trying to spin that as good news. It says, even as the personal savings rate plunged to an all-time low, hardly ringing an endorsement for the strength of the U.S. consumer. And it says today's report provided more granular details. It's always about digging into the details. If you just read the headline or listen to a pundit or a market pumper like Cuban, a billionaire, you're not going to understand what's really happening. It says the granular details, which, however, did not change the conclusion. The U.S. consumer is getting weaker, and while not in a crisis just yet, we'll get there soon enough. As the chart from the New York Fed shows, at the end of first quarter, U.S. household debt reached a record, and more borrowers are struggling to keep up, it says. Overall, U.S. household debt rose to $17.69 trillion. New York Fed's quarterly report on household debt and credit revealed that's an increase of $184 billion or 1.1% from the fourth quarter of last year. My mic's still on? Good, okay. It says consumers have added $3.4 trillion in debt since the pandemic, and the increased debt bears much higher interest rates. We all know that. You guys are paying 22% on credit cards right now. I hope you're not doing that. I hope you're paying off your credit cards to the extent that you possibly can. And with both credit card rates and total credit at all-time highs, the data corroborate the mounting financial pressures on American families in an age of elevated inflation. The persistent rise in the prices of essentials, such as food and rent, have strained household budgets. We all know that, pushing people to borrow against their credit cards to pay for necessities. Total credit card debt stood at $1.12 trillion in the first quarter of 2024. Okay, it says, but an increasing number of borrowers are behind on credit card payments. Now, that's the important thing, is what's happening with the debt levels. Are they being properly and timely serviced? This is while down slightly sequentially, according to this data set, the number in line with seasonal patterns of consumers paying debt incurred over the holidays. But as Bloomberg notes, credit card balances are up almost 25% from the first quarter of 2020. Huge increase. Think about it. The national debt's up, maybe 30% since the first part of 2020? So the stuff is rising in tandem. Massive percentage increases in short spans of time. It says, meanwhile, in a blog post by New York Fed economists, they caution that consumers facing a financial squeeze may be maxing out their credit cards and falling behind on payments. And added, the one observable factor that is strongly correlated with future delinquencies is a high credit card utilization rate. Okay? How much are people using their credit cards? And how much are they increasing their credit card debt levels? In the first quarter, and here we go, in the first quarter of 2024, credit card and auto loan transition rates into serious delinquency continued to rise across all age groups, said Joel Scala, Regional Economic Principal within the Household and Public Policy Research Division at the New York Fed. Quote, increasing number of borrowers missed credit card payments, revealing worsening financial distress among some households, it says. As of March of this year, 3.2% of outstanding debt was in some stage of delinquency. This remains still 1.5 points lower than the fourth quarter of 2019. Okay, Mark Cuban, is that a silver lining? But delinquency transition rates increased for all product types, according to the Fed. In a separate post, economists at the St. Louis Fed pointed out that credit card delinquency rates are returning to historically more normal levels after pandemic-related government assistance programs pushed them to unusually low numbers, because they're getting a bunch of free money. About 121,000 consumers had a bankruptcy notation added to their credit reports last quarter. And approximately 4.8% of consumers held some debt in third-party collections. What is remarkable, it says, is that those consumers currently in collection have the highest number on record in collection amounts, which means that once the delinquency train finally leaves the station and creditors start collecting in earnings, the amount of debt in third-party collections will be literally off the chart. And the clearest hint that we are getting there is that borrowers using more than 60% of their credit are falling into delinquency at a faster pace than before the pandemic, making up most of the increase in credit card delinquency rates. About a third of balances associated with borrowers using more than 90% of their credit balances, available credit limits, became delinquent in the past year, compared to about 25% before the pandemic. So that statistic is going up. 25% then, 33% now. What's most remarkable here, it says, is that despite so-called end of the student loan repayment moratorium, it appears that not only is nobody repaying their student loans, but the debt issuers aren't even bothering, it says, to make the delinquent debt as such or categorize it as such. The data also shows a wide range in credit card utilization rates. About 1 in 6 credit card users are using at least 90% of their credit. Let's hear that. Let me repeat that. 1 in 6 credit card users are using at least 90% in available credit, and an additional 11% are using between 60 and 90% of their available credit. The Fed report showed 6.9% of credit card debt transitioned to serious delinquency last quarter, up from 4.6% a year ago. So now it's 6.9%, almost 7% in serious delinquency, up from 4.8% a year ago. Okay, how's that good, Mark Cuban? And for credit card holders age 18 to 29, 9.9% of balances were in serious delinquency. And look, guys, if you are in that age bracket, 18 to 29, and you are in serious delinquency on credit card debt, you are screwed. Your credit is going to take a massive hit, and it's going to take years and years to recover. Guess what? You can kiss your chances of buying a house goodbye. You can kiss your chances of buying a vehicle at any kind of reasonable rate, goodbye. You're not credible. You come across as unreliable. And that will snowball. That will have an impact on you for a long time to come. So if you're in that age category or any age group and you are not paying these credit card payments, please do your best to get on top of this stuff, reverse the course. Maybe start by not using those credit cards, especially for discretionary items that you really don't need, and then come up with a plan to focus on getting it paid down. Auto loan delinquencies are also higher, as the average monthly car payment jumped to $738 in 2023. Close to 2.8% of auto loans are now 90 or more days delinquent. That equates to more than 3 million cars. Auto loans are the second largest debt category, followed by mortgage debt, and that's $1.62 trillion outstanding. The biggest household debt, this is no surprise, is for housing, mortgage debt. It accounts for more than 70% of the total. It says the debt is performing well. Listen to this. Homeowners are increasingly tapped their accumulated home equity in the form of a home equity loan, a HELOC. Meanwhile, new mortgage originations have tumbled near record low levels as a result of soaring rates, which means that foreclosures are also starting to tick up. So those of you that have used your home as a piggy bank to go and pull out a bunch of money to go on vacations or to buy the car that you really didn't need or to finance stupid stuff, I sure hope that you have a game plan to solve this problem, because we discussed on the show last week, equity values in real properties across the country are starting to come down. Equity is falling. Okay, we're going to see, not financial advice, not economic advice, we're probably going to see a housing market collapse here. It's unfolding now, and it's going to collapse. It's going to be here. And then what happens when you're underwater on those mortgages, and that includes the HELOCs? What do? Unless you're prepared to write a check to the escrow company, you can't even sell your house. What's going to happen is if you can't pay that debt and you can't sell the house, it's going to be foreclosed. You're going to lose the house. All right, I guess I'll stop with the article goes on for 2 more pages, but I'm at 26 minutes. That's really, really long for me here. So apologize for that, but I wanted to share it with you. It's been sitting on my desk, that article, for many days. And then when I saw that story today about the federal debt increasing this drastically, and then the consumer debt information on the back of Mark Cuban's comment that consumers feel very confident about their financial future. I would love to hear from all of you what you think. Did a workout this morning, 1-hour workout, trying to walk the walk. The diet has been pretty good, trying to keep on top of that. Hope all of you are doing the same, getting those steps in, getting some strength training in. Pay attention to your physical fitness routine and your diet, please. A busy week this week again. I'm going to be heading out of town Friday, probably for a few days, get down to the coast, have some family coming to stay at the house. So that will be great. I need a few days, but I have some crucial motions this week and some depositions. Hope all of you have a productive week. I'm going to be able to touch base, hopefully sporadically, and wish you all a fantastic evening. Thank you again for being here. Talk to you soon. Bye.